Hi everyone, it's my pleasure to be on stage to be talking to you about two of my favorite topics, scaling growth teams and experimentation. I'm sorry I can't speak in Ukrainian. The only word I know now is budmo, which is not very helpful. So bear with me while I speak in English. A little bit about me. No? Okay. So I'm from Singapore and I moved to Barcelona about 1 year ago for Preply. And now I head a team of about 8 people in CRM. And interestingly, when I first joined Preply, it was just me and one more guy doing email marketing. 1 year on later, we have 8 people, now about to be 9. So I'm quite good at scaling teams and helping them to grow. And before Preply, I was in Skyscanner and I was doing the same thing. I was like the second guy to join the email marketing team. I scaled the team to 11 people in the end. We had engineers, product managers, analysts, even designers, copywriters. And also, I helped them to scale the team to include all kinds of channels in re-engagement and also to run more than 30 experiments a month. So I'm not a co-founder, but I can tell you a little bit more about my experience in helping to scale teams and to run more experiments in your teams. So hopefully today you can bring some hacks and tips back to your team and implement them. So a little bit more about Preply because I'm going to give you a lot of examples of experiments that we have been doing. And to help you understand the experiments, I need to explain a little bit more about what we do in Preply. So we are a global marketplace for online language learning. We connect students and tutors who want to learn a new language together. And we operate in a problem space because online language learning is actually very hard and ineffective. So what we are trying to do is to not just connect them, but also to build a platform that helps you find the best tutors easily and also to get the best results when you're learning online through video and through text. And to understand growth, well, first you have to understand how to add more people to your two-sided marketplace, right? So I like to use the concept of a flywheel to explain what is growth. So to spin a flywheel, there are many things you can do. So for example, if you, well, add more students, you're going to attract more tutors eventually because there is demand and they want to have business. And when you attract more tutors, your selection increases, right? Then you provide a better customer experience and this spins. So what happens is as the volume grows, you're going to have a lower cost structure and therefore you have lower prices and you reinvest that in your customer experience and then it spins faster and faster. So this is kind of how we explain growth in a very visual and simple way. And now that you understand how growth works, I like to put in place a framework to help you visualize metrics and how to measure success. So all of our experiments that we run will be based on this framework, right? So you go from registration as you start to create an account, then you go through activation. So kind of like the pirate metrics that we were talking about earlier on. But we break it down into setup, aha, and habit so that it's easier to phase it out in different stages and you can optimize for 3 parts of the funnel. And then you have engagement, which is, well, if you are learning, you are going to start off at casual, which is like 1 to 3 lessons a month, and then you go up to core, and then you go up to power. So the idea is to increase the frequency over time and you get more GMV. And then, of course, you will have students who drop off and then they eventually churn. So you're going to do some resurrection here to bring them back eventually, and then that helps you to get even more customers and retain customers. So now that you understand how to measure experiments in the growth framework, I want to talk about why do you need to do so many A/B tests. So just a show of hands, how many of you are running 0 to 10 A/B tests a month? Okay, and 10 to 20? Not many. Oh, I see one hand. And more than 20? Probably none. Okay, good. So just to give you an idea why we need to do so many A/B tests. We ran 64 tests in Q3 last year. We managed to complete 45 of them, so there were still like some of them that were still in testing. But we actually only scaled 10 that were positive, right? So my success rate for experimentation is 15.6%. So what it means is the faster you experiment, the earlier you're going to find stuff that is positive and you can scale, and that will help you move your North Star metric. So it is key to really fail fast and to learn fast. So this is why I introduce a concept of enablement, because what it does is it helps you bring your team together and also your stakeholders to experiment in your channels more efficiently and effectively, and thus increasing the velocity of tests that you run in a month. So how many of you know what IKEA is and you have bought furniture from IKEA before? Okay, so IKEA basically is like a budget furniture store where you can buy stuff and you assemble it yourself. And they always provide you with this cute little booklet, right, of instructions. But what is really smart about this booklet is it has no text, right? So basically, when you sell this around the world, you reuse the same booklet for any country, any language. And it is so clever because it enables anyone to assemble the furniture, but you don't have to hire people to do translations, to fix your furniture for you in any part of the world. So I'm trying to implement the same concept in growth. And there are 3 pillars that I want to talk about today, which is process, people, and tools. So the first one about process. First of all, what I always like to start from is before even running a test, you should have a framework to design all your A/B experiments, right? So you start from hypothesis, why you want to test this, you back it up with data and some research, and then how you want to implement this. Who is your target audience? When do you flip the coin to allocate traffic and so on? Your success criteria, what metrics do you want to move, and how much conversion do you want to increase? The results of the actual test and your analysis. So with a framework, what I also found that was useful is you need to focus on meaningful hypotheses. So if you're in a startup, chances are your traffic is really low. And if you're going to, say, increase something by 2% or 5%, chances are you're going to run it for months or even years because you're not going to have enough traffic. So always use free tools online to calculate how much traffic you need to reach statistical significance. And if it's not going to reach significance in, say, 5 weeks, I would say dump the idea, focus on something that is bigger impact that will help you achieve results that are significant. And last but not least, well, if you use any project management tools, what I like to do is you should templatize your framework, right? So you always have a standard process, and any team who wants to run an A/B test should just copy this template and give you the details, and then you can run the experiment without any back and forth. So try to templatize this and make sure everyone adopts the same framework. So now you have a really good framework in place. What do you want to do? You want to get together all your team members to come together and do brainstorming. And you want to build a backlog of ideas. Because just like how software engineers and product managers have a backlog of things to do, growth should also have a backlog where you experiment continuously like a factory, right? So you never run out of ideas to work on. And there's lots of ways you can do this. I use Trello, it's free. You build like a funnel of different ideas and you prioritize them with a framework like I-score. So impact, confidence, and effort. And so this way, you always know the top ones are like the highest priority and the lower ones are less impact, so they are lesser priority, and you work from top down. So you can implement this with your team, with your stakeholders, and so on, and basically have a library of A/B tests to do at any point in time. The second pillar is actually about people, which is super important because you don't want to just hire the right people. You want to nurture them and you want to help develop a growth mindset. So a growth mindset, basically, if I want to summarize it, is being able to take risks, dare to fail, and you want to go through this mentality of build fast, test, learn, and iterate. The faster you test, the earlier you learn, and the faster you iterate means the faster you get to success. It's just simple math. So how do you help validate the hypothesis? So you want to ask yourself, what is the minimum viable product that you can deliver to validate the experiment hypothesis? And you always ask this because you have to simplify and simplify and simplify. Start from the easiest thing to ship, and then once you learn something, you iterate and you make it more complex. So here's an example that I used to do at Skyscanner when I first joined many years ago. I had an idea like, hey, we are having so many millions of users who are looking for flights. why don't we just send them like the cheapest deals that we find every week, because I'm sure if someone wants to go on a quick getaway, right? So I had no engineers, I had no one in my team. What did I do? I basically did a search in my own search engine. I found flights from whatever price. I found some stock images and I photoshopped it and I sent it out like on a weekly basis. So this was the easiest for me to test. I built this thing in like one day and I sent it out. And what I found there was, so much traffic was coming from these emails and they were going right into the funnel. So what I then did was I built a business case and I brought it to my engineers and say, hey, can we automate this now because it has shown really good results? So what we did was we personalized all the deals based on where you were from, your home airport, and we found based on what were your recent searches, like based on your interest. And then all of this is automated from an API, right? You get prices, you get place names, and you get images. So now this has become a fully scaled email program for all the markets in all languages, and it is bringing in one of the most, amount of traffic that is into the funnel. So I guess my takeaway is you want to test everything, because just because something that has worked for other companies or your other departments doesn't mean it will work for you. So the only way to be sure is test it yourself. And here is one more really good example that I did at Preply. When we decided to improve our email, so this is an email like a welcome email, and we said, hey, why don't we recommend some tutors to students who are looking for new tutors to learn a language with. We said, okay, it looks pretty good, but I think we can do some more. So we added the description of a tutor, and we also added a button to watch a video. Really simple tips, right? And we A/B tested this. What we didn't realize was it actually brought in 81% more GMV from this email itself. So if we didn't test this, there's no way that we would have known this was going to be such a great success. Last but not least, you need to provide psychological safety for your team as well. So experiments will fail. As you have seen, it was a 15% success rate. And if it keeps failing, you have to make sure they don't feel like they are causing the business to lose money or what, because it's part and parcel of the business, right? So make sure you provide a safety net for them to take big bets. And to do this, you have to lead by example. So if you're a product manager, a growth manager, or a team lead, make sure you be hands-on, run your own experiments, design them, craft them, and do it yourself first, right? So once you show that you're actually doing this and you're failing, your team will feel encouraged that, hey, we can also do the same and we shouldn't be scared. And you also want to build a community of people within your business to help you. So for example, I was in Central Growth team in Skyscanner, and I was working with all kinds of country marketing managers across like 20 plus different teams. What I realized was, if I run my own experiments, I have like 5 days a week. I can only do maybe 15 experiments a month. But when I got all of them to come together, learn how to use my CRM tools, learn the best practices, and read the playbooks that I have built, we were actually running more than 60 experiments a month with the combined efforts of everyone. So it is really important to enable everyone around you that have the same interest in your metrics to run A/B tests as well. So the last pillar that I want to talk about is actually tooling. Very important, because we always tend to underestimate how much we need tooling these days. First and foremost, you need an experimentation platform that is a single source of truth. So what you want to do is merge all the A/B test results into one centralized place so that everyone measures the test in the same way. And this is how we actually do it in Preply. We have a North Star set metrics, which is all of this. And we always measure the uplift between control and test. And we calculate statistical significance and power over here. And here, everyone in the business uses the same set of metrics and the same way to analyze A/B tests. So there is no way you can argue with different people and say, hey, you are measuring it the wrong way, I'm right, and you waste time. And once you have a unified platform to measure A/B tests, what you want to do next is don't always wait for the perfect set of metrics, because you could spend months debating about what is the right metric to use. So I suggest you start simple, agree on something, test it. If it doesn't work, you can iterate and improve it, just like any other A/B test that you were doing. And in CRM especially, we invest a lot in marketing automation. So we build our own tech stack that can allow you to run A/B tests automatically without any engineers, right? So it starts from, okay, you have a database that collects all the events from your product, like web and apps. You send it to Journal to store changes, and then you pass the data to Kafka, and then you have microservices that will allow you to pass all the events and attributes into Braze, which is our CRM platform. And what you want to do here is send the data back from Braze into database, update it, and then put it into your experiment platform and analysis tools. So I would suggest if you don't have anything today, start simple. There are free tools online like Zapier or MailChimp, etc. And once you start growing your experiments and you realize that you need to scale, you can invest in better tech stack. And the last thing I want to talk about in tools is actually called the Enablement Hub. It is just a depository of all your best practices, playbooks, and documentation. And a lot of people tend to say, wow, I don't really want to spend one day documenting this stuff because it's a waste of my time and no one's going to read it. And in the end, I could be spending that time doing other stuff. But it is actually really important if you want to scale experiments, because what I have actually done in Skyscanner is I have built a hub on Confluence, which is just a list of all the different playbooks, dashboards, and how-to guides, videos, and so on. And you make it accessible to all your teams, right? So if one day a guy in France marketing team says, hey, I want to launch an email campaign to my France users and I want to A/B test it, I can say, well, you come here, you open this link and you read it and you run your own test. And that's exactly what they did. So that is how you enable 20, 30 different teams in the business to start using your channels and experiment more. And last but not least, you have to democratize all your stuff, okay? So just because you build something and you leave it there doesn't mean people will see it. So make use of drop-in sessions, demo days, all hands, Slack channels to share updates and run peer reviews. So this way you can encourage more and more people to get awareness about what you have been doing and to adopt it as fast as possible. So thank you, that is all. And I hope you enjoyed and learned something from my presentation. And if you're interested in Preply, we're also hiring.